Hi, I'm Mike Rooney. Today's free art lesson is going to be on sight drawing. It's actually a two-part. I did part one about taking a small one and how to look at it, and by comparing one thing to another, you can draw something from here. You can blow it up onto another surface. Now I'm going to show you how to do sight drawing when you're outside, or if it's one-to-one, or even if it's one-to-two. In other words, the size of the object that you're trying to draw can be a one-to-one ratio. Like I'm trying to draw it this size and I want it to be that on this. Or I can measure it this way and then blow it up twice as much. So it doesn't matter what the proportion is. This method will work for drawing accurately and quickly, because in plein air, that's the name of the game, is going ahead and getting that scene down on the canvas as quickly as possible, because the whole time the light's moving on you. So you need to get the shadows down and get it drawn, get the shadows in very, very quickly, so you have the rest of the time to paint, because the sun's moving and it might start raining on you. Anything can happen. So the better and faster you are drawing, the better it is. So I'm going to show you how to sight draw. Now what this is, let's say that I'm outside and I see a tree and I want to do it one-to-one. I want to make the size of the tree that it is on here. So the first thing I have to do is when you do it one-to-one, you may have to move. Okay, you may have to move your easel to make it one-to-one. Because let's say I sit up here and I see the tree out there and I measure it. Now the way you sight draw measure is you take your brush and you hold it up. Always use the tip of the brush as the starting point, and then move your finger up and down that brush and mark it with your finger how high it is. So you look, you see a tree and it's that high, you put the top of the brush on the top of the tree and you move your finger down till you hit the roots. So that's how high that tree is. Now let's say I want to do that tree and I want to move it over here. I have to make sure that this fits inside of my canvas area. Let's say that it's too big, the tree is too big. What I have to do is I have to go 2 to 1 or 1 to 2. Anyway, it's going to be twice as big out there as it is here. But I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Let's do the one-to-one. The tree's that big. I say I'm going to paint the tree that big. Let's say it's a little study. So what I do is I mark it, either making a tick mark or holding it with my fingers, and I say, okay, the tree is that big. So I make a tick mark there and there. So there's the tree. Now I say, okay, this canvas has to be this big or whatnot to hold a tree study that size. All right, so let's say we got a tree and a little house. So the tree is this big. So now I know that the tree is that big. I just start to cut in the tree shape and make the tree so that it ends on that tick mark. So there's my tree. Now I say, how big is the house compared to the tree? I do the same thing, because remember, everything out there is one-to-one. So I look at the house and I move my finger down. I put the tip of the brush on the top of the house and I move my finger down and I say, oh, okay, the house is that big. All right, so I can make a tick mark. Usually I tick it like that. I make a little tick mark like so, and then I move my finger up and I look and I see that the house is that big. Now I don't have this big old house that's way up here and it's off in comparison to the tree. Everything will be one-to-one. So here's my little house, and I paint my little house in there. And as long as I end on those tick marks, I'm okay. So now I know the size of my house in comparison to my tree. Now in sight drawing, once you get a few things laid out like that, you get the heights and the positions of them, you can actually figure out, let's say there was some mountains behind this house. What I do is I do the same thing. I measure the distance from the top of the mountains down to the roof of the house. I do the same thing and measure it. And let's say that I measure it and it's this big. I know that the mountains are up here and not down here. You ever drawn something and you get it on there and everything's out of whack and you're like, oh man, and then you got to wash it all off or wipe it down or gesso over the canvas. This way you hurry up and get the big shapes in their proper relationship and you don't have so much to worry about. So that would be exactly one-to-one. Now what do? I know one time I was going to paint a bridge and I couldn't back up any further to get it one-to-one because I'd be out of the parking lot and there was trees and stuff in the way, so I couldn't see the bridge. So what you have to do in that case is you have to make it 1 to 2, or you can use a little piece of plastic that I came up with. You can take this little piece of plastic and you can hold it up. What I did, I took a piece of plastic and outlined it with marker. This one's a 9 by 12, this is an 8 by 10, and you can hold it up to the scene and draw on it with your paint. Like if I'm painting the tree, I can trace the tree onto my plastic to get the size of the shape. Then I can walk over to my canvas and make sure that I paint it this far from the edge and end it that far, and make sure everything on here, the big shapes on here, match the big shapes on there. So, you know, one's a little bit of a cheat, you know, or you can do this. You can take the thing, and let's say you don't have your plastic with you or something, and you say the tree is that big. Let's say the tree is that big, but if you go 1 to 1, it's going to be bigger than your canvas. What you do is you try to get a canvas that's 1 to 2, so that what is on here is half the size of what's out there. So let's say I want a tree to be this big, or the tree is actually this big. I would make it half that size. So I would make the tree this big. So I would paint, let's say we're doing it down here. I'd make a tick there, and half of that would be there. So my tree now is only this big. There's a 1 to 2 right there. So then that means my canvas can't be anything more than maybe a 5 by 7 or something for this particular painting. Okay, see? Now this is exactly half of what that one is. It's a good way to hurry up and get it down, get it on the canvas, and get it accurate. And that's the name of the game in plein air painting. I hope you enjoyed this free art lesson. If you'd like to learn more about me, you can look me up at MikeRooneyStudios.blogspot.com.